What is going on, brothers and sisters? Eric Rosen here, your internal strength coach, here to show you how to overcome your greatest challenges so you can shine your brightest light. I'm offering coaching services as well as personal training. If you're interested, send me an email, ericrosencoaches@gmail.com. I want to share with you guys tonight an experience that I had a few months ago. I was working as an inspector on a construction project. I had to travel down to Alabama to do it, and it was hot as fuck down there. The pay was not that great. The work was going terrible, and the people had very, very shitty bang bang attitudes. I mean, I knew this job wasn't going to be easy when I went down there, but it was like way worse than what I could have imagined. And it wasn't even like going into it with some like type of expectation that it was going to suck, like dreading it. But I literally every moment there was pretty awful. And I spent probably about 4 to 6 weeks of being down there, probably about 4 weeks of just like being like, what the fuck did I get myself into? And it was quite the contrast to a construction job I had done a couple years ago. Before that, I was actually making way more money, almost double what I was making. And on that project, when shit was weird and I was getting asked to do way more than what I bargained for, I was actually in a state of surrender. Like, oh, you want me to do this? Sure, whatever. I'm making fucking awesome money. And it was great because it was very just like a peaceful surrender. Like there was no resistance. So on this project, obviously there was a lot of great resistance. I'm like, this place fucking sucks. And, what it brought up is something that I think a lot of people face. It's what do you do when you can't leave a situation and you cannot change a situation and you're just there and you're faced with the challenge and it's like a long-term thing. So like a job, a lot of people are working jobs that they really don't fucking like. They're providing for their family. Maybe they want to acquire more skills and get a different job, but it's like for right now, this is where you're at, this is where you have to be, and you hate your fucking job because a combination of maybe all those factors: pay sucks, job sucks, people suck. And so I was I was overworked too when I first got down there. Eventually, they finally added more staff after I was practically fucking begging for a couple of weeks that there was no way I was going to be handle all this work on my own. It was just impossible. And I finally got to a point, there was one day where it was a little bit slower and still the discomfort of like working and out of this stinky fucking job trailer. It's still hot. The people are still rude and crabby and just a lot of egos clashing there. And it's like, I'm trying to understand what the lesson is here. What is it? Because I know that the just the discomfort that I was faced with, like the anxiety and the loathing of my job, I knew that there was more to it than that. Just from what I've learned from, just working with emotions and spirituality, it's like there's something here. Like this isn't just happening as like some type of punishment. It's not just chance. I didn't just end up on this project. What is it that I'm being taught here? And so the answer that came to me was expansion. It was expansion to expand myself so that I could actually make room for that discomfort. So when I say make expansion, obviously not like physically, like I went from being, 210 pounds to, 310 pounds or something like that. It's more about this saying that you've probably heard before, that human beings have far greater potential than what we actually believe that we have, and it's true. You're We're only using a very small percentage of our brains. the things that we believe that we can do are very finite. Even the constructs of what we believe about, you know, the universe, about energy, you know, about, because most of the time, most people only believe in what they can see, the physical. So whether that's just the physical body, or even, you know, when it comes to more spiritual stuff, it's like it's mostly the Bible, right? It's well, this is what I read in the book, so this is what the truth is. But yet, you know, the universe and spirituality, it's like just it's boundless, like it's timeless, it's boundless, like it's endless. And you know, it's my belief that because, you know, that we were created by God, and that God gave us, you know, certain abilities, you know, that I'm sorry, I don't believe in the whole like we're sinners and pale in the eyes of God like aspect. Like I believe that we were created out of God, and therefore like that's why we have these like great manifesting powers. So expansion, it's expanding, it's first of all, it's having this awareness that you being open to this awareness, open to this idea that you have way more in the tank, you have way more capacity, you have way more energy, you have way more brain power than what you believe that you have, way more than what you were taught that you have. So the analogy that came to me when I was moving through this was like, I had this discomfort, and rather than resisting it or opposing it, like clashing forces with it, it's like, you know what, why don't I make room for this discomfort rather than resisting it? You know, just like, say it's like a lost fucking orphan Tarzan or something. Like, you can, what do you do? Like when the kid shows up at your doorstep, do you tell him to get the fuck out of here? You know, and then maybe you close the door, but then he's like banging around outside your house or something. Like, it doesn't go away. The discomfort's not going away. Or do you invite him in because, you know, there's actually this lost innocent thing that you doesn't know fucking right from wrong, basically, like he's been in the wild. And that's really the same thing with like these feelings and discomforts that come up. They're innocent, they just seem really fucking bad, because the reality is that the discomfort and the feelings, they're there like for your growth. Like, you're just looking at it like, fuck this unwanted visitor, go away, I don't want it. So inviting it in, and not only inviting it in is like a surrender acceptance aspect to it, because you can surrender to it and be okay with it. That doesn't mean that it's going to get any less comfortable. Like, it's still there. I mean, it can take the edge off, but imagine that you invite the kid in to your house, like you're inviting the discomfort, the feeling into your body. And then the expansion is, you go from, say, 1,000 square foot house to a 10,000 square foot house. Now all of a sudden, little Tarzan he's still only going to use like the same amount of space, say, in your home to like cause a ruckus. But because your home is so big now, his disruption can actually become less of an impact, because maybe he's at the opposite end of the fucking house and now you can't hear him banging pots and pans together or something. I don't know. But it's like, you know, like almost like a pie chart. Like, you believe that your capacity is 100% of a pie chart. Imagine that your potential stretches further, just to put a number on it, that you go from 100% to 1,000%. So this discomfort that you have, like this discomfort I had on this job, say I thought the whole thing was terrible, which I did. Like, I hated every second of it. Was literally 100% of my chart. Like, I hated being there. I hated going back to the hotel. I hated being in Alabama, all that stuff. But then if I expand myself to this 10,000%, now all of a sudden, this discomfort is only making up 10% of my reality now. And, that's just a mathematical example when in fact, it reaches far beyond that, because I do believe that, again, we have this far reaching potential that we don't really always acknowledge. But the more that you expand, the more this discomfort that you've made room for even becomes negligible. And that was the feeling that I experienced there in that moment. Was I did not like where I was at, but I made room for that discomfort. I made room for it so it didn't consume me. And the way that I allowed it not to consume me was saying, okay, you're making up this much of this impact, but I am just far more than just the feelings that I incur from that discomfort. And it was a feeling that I had. It was an actual feeling of just energetically speaking, just feeling like my capacity to handle stress just grew in that moment. And because it's a feeling, it's kind of hard to explain exactly what this would feel like, but this is the thing that I realized, that when people are stuck in stuff they don't want to be in, like say you're stuck in a job like I was, and you feel like you can't leave, because a lot of like positive feel good talk out there is like, well, if you don't like the room that you're in, leave it. Well, what happens if you can't? What happens if you can't? What happens if you can't change the situation? What happens if you can't leave it? They say try looking at it another way, try forming a different perspective. So that's essentially what this is. It's looking at it like, okay, now the perspective is, I believe that my potential is far greater, and that's how I'm going to face this. I'm going to face it by making room for it and expanding through it. And I think this is something that could be taught to people that are like in jobs that they really don't fucking like. Because what most people are going to be doing is they're going to feel stuck, they're going to feel like a prisoner, and they're going to be fucking miserable. And there needs to be other solutions for people out there. And then, this is just an example of something that, runs most people's lives, which is their job, their career. But you can expand this to anything, just anything that you're moving through. But, the more, if you have to face this challenge, the more you try to run from it, the more it's going to chase you down. It's not going away. Whatever you resist persists. And it's just going to fucking leave you feeling chewed up if you're going at it like this too. So you got to let that little fucking orphan Tarzan, that little boy in, make room for him, and then make your house bigger. That's the best way I know how to describe it. It's expansion. It's realizing that you are just you're more powerful, and your potential is just far greater than what you could have imagined, and that is the way that you make room for that discomfort. Just invite it in and then expand. All right, guys, I'm gonna run here. It's getting late. My son's birthday's tomorrow. It's gonna be a fun day. But coaching services are available, personal training is available. In love and truth, I will see you guys probably tomorrow. Take care.